Again, a warm welcome to everyone here. I know it's a busy day for everyone, and thank you for taking out time to be here. All right, so we have Anurag with us. So we'll start the session now with a short introduction. So again, a warm welcome to everyone. I'm Himanshu here, one of the founders of Ekaant, and really excited to welcome you to this raw culture meet. So we'll start with a short intro about exactly what Ekaant is. Basically, so we are a B2B emotional well-being platform designed to support employees at every stage of their life and work journey. So basically, we partner with corporate companies and provide them a platform to manage, monitor their end-to-end employee well-being. We help employees in their day-to-day, life. Either they have been facing personal issues or professional at work issues. We help them with one-on-one consultation with our pool of psychologists, therapists, counselors. We have AI-powered platform which provides a very personalized support to employees within their workplaces. So yeah, again, from day-to-day stress to bigger challenges at Ekaant, our goal has always been to make well-being very accessible, meaningful, and people first. So through this journey, we have realized something very powerful that culture is not shaped by big strategies and glossy policies. More often, it's shaped by the small experiments and stories that happen inside team every day. So yeah, a few days back we spoke with the HR team who introduced a wellness budget within their organization, and most of those wellness budget discovered and went on the pizzas. So either we can think it's a culture fail or culture win. Uh, it totally depends on how you look it. It comes with employee bonded, conversation flawed, and that's culture too. So yeah, that's the messy, unfiltered side of culture. Sometimes inspiring, sometimes frustrating, but always teaching us something real. And that's exactly why we created this raw culture made to bring HR leaders together to share these unfiltered stories, the wins, the fails, and the lesson in between. In today, we are joined here by uh, Mr. Anurag Verma. Anurag, who has led people and culture at great organizations like ShareChat, Flipkart, Unifor, and knows firsthand what it takes to build people first organization across India and beyond. So yeah, we are more than excited to welcome you on Rag here. Uh,
Well, at the outset, thanks a lot, Himanshu, for initiating these webinars, right? And the topic around culture. But before we dive into that, I much appreciate, the business initiative that you are driving at Ekaant, right? Today, it's all the more important to look at holistic well-being of employees at workplace. The modern ways of working are exhausting. It sort of, wears out people faster and businesses usually people think and sort of is a myth that it's a sprint, right? And we say that the sprints are going on. Well, the sprints are there for business cycles, the results to come in, but to build organizations, it's a marathon is all about endurance, stamina, right? And important is also alongside how we take care of our body, mind is also important, right? It's the most heated, pressure-oriented, situations happen. And if we don't take care of that, then it impacts us. It impacts the organization most importantly, because if the mind is not working right, the productivity will not come in. And the shift has happened. I think after COVID, people realize it more, and then gradually, thanks to the initiatives that you guys are also taking, wherein you're initiating it along with AI because it's a very personal issue still, right? People don't want to talk very openly, right, about well-being when it relates with your mind side. We are okay to talk that I have a stomach ache today, uh, but we are not so okay to talk about that. My mind is zoned out. Why it is zoned out? Why I'm feeling stressed out? Why I'm feeling anxiety, right? And those are the things which we need to talk about. So today, let's talk about more about culture, as you rightly said. Culture. One of the Let's start with a myth, right? Most of the time, culture is seen as an HR activity. That HR, is the function which will build and drive culture. And I say it's a myth because culture is everyone, right? But most importantly, culture is driven by the leaders, the way they walk the talk, the way they demonstrate what we call it as the core ethos or the values of the organization, not as billboards, but day to day consistent. And when that behaviors, I give a simple analogy that, great cultures thrive when we follow and adopt the behaviors as if no one is watching, right? We need to lead by example. Where does HR role comes in? HR role comes in showing the path, right? Showing, I would say, a mirror, a face to it, and being honest and open to say to a leader that here you are going wrong, right? Having that courage, and most importantly, coaching the leaders that how they can manifest the right behaviors that they want in the organizations. So yeah, it's one day, one activity done consistently over a period of time.
Coming to one thing, like you have been part of the companies that has been scaling at lightning speeds, like Flipkart, ShareChat, Unifor. So, I mean, if we look over your journey, what has been the toughest culture challenge leaders who are looking during this hyper growth?
Well, you're very right, right? Culture, as I said, um, is not something which is built overnight. When organizations are growing fast and rapid, and each of these organizations, be it Airtel, be it Flipkart, be it India Telecom Infra, ShareChat, or Unifor, right? It was never an easy path, right? And at different intervals of organization growth, you have to sort of take a step back, what we call it as reset, and see, what would continue, what will not. To help you simplify what I'm trying to say is that in hyper growth, what happens is, you know, leaders tend to sort of take a path of growth at any cost, right? And that's where the small behaviors crack. For example, when we say that, we want to become a customer first company. And if you see, Flipkart was always super obsessed with customer experience, right? And if you just make that a statement as a motherhood statement, but in the journey you say that your product is supreme, right? And customers will follow what I will sort of give to them, then you're breaking it out. And I've seen, leaders taking a pain very initially when they have multiple other works as well to listen to customer calls, read the reviews of the customer, and it it was painstaking efforts that the leaders would go out on delivery to the customer doorsteps and take the feedback hands on and bring it back. But then you would say it's easy when you are small, right? When you grow big, it breaks. Yes, it does. It happened in these organizations as well during the hyper growth stage, followed a stage where you get a lot of funding, you get more people coming in, and you can't sort of manage the growth by micromanaging, and you have to trust your leaders. But what happens during the time, each leader, if not corrected well or guided well, uh, unconsciously, I would say, starts building their own culture or islands, as we call it. And I've seen the journey as well, wherein the boats are going full throttle but rudderless. So each leader driving it in its own sort of trajectory, and they're not converging. And those are the points wherein someone has to take lead, maybe HR, to say that, hey, this is not working, right? Have we lost our focus, or have we lost our path? What brought us here? What more efforts or behaviors will take us further, and what things we have to let go, because sometimes what you started off may not always take you where it is. But most importantly is to keep on checks, keep on reflecting, and most importantly have a very open, candid feedback mechanism, because very truly employees are your mirrors. They will let you know when it is going wrong and when it's breaking. Most of the time, engagement surveys are taken as a tick box, right? And when you really sort of focus on not engagement surveys, but listening to people, genuinely listening to people, taking that feedback and acting on those feedbacks, that's where the difference comes.
That's one of the introducing a change in the organization, such as enhancing AI adoption. How can we ensure it becomes a natural and seamless part of employees' daily work?
Well, that's a great question, I would say. Any change, any adaptation, be it technology, a process, or I would say a behavior, right? Has to be very thoughtful. Most importantly, the important part is why you are making that change has to come out very sharply, because people, if they're not very clear about why I want to shift from one technology to another, right? It may be you are using an X platform, and people get used to it, and suddenly you say that from tomorrow we'll starting using Y platform. We will use AI more on top of it. The natural instinct of any employee is, why the heck, right? What was the need to make this change? Is this another something which is coming in? So the important aspect here, first aspect, is that why this change and how this change will sort of make their lives more flexible, more productive. So what's in for them, right? Now that doesn't happen by sending out one, Slack message, email, or with some postcards. You have to do multiple focus groups, right? Have open conversations and take candid feedback. Initially, people will give a raw feedback that it sucks, the AI is not working, or it gives out dumb answers, and you have to constantly say that, look, it's not magical that any technology or tool that you will bring in, it's training, right? Even if you use ChatGPT on a personal front, you have to spend some good amount of time in terms of the ChatGPT understanding you as an individual and then giving you the right sort of responses. Similarly goes in any adoption of technology, that it's a painstaking, and then there has to be a team which is sort of dedicated to make the change happen with the leadership and sponsorship, and then listening to the feedbacks. And sometimes feedbacks are right? You have to take corrective measures. But important is communicate the rational, let people know that it is for their own good, and keep on taking honest feedbacks and act upon those feedbacks. Reward the right behavior. Some would be early adopters. Reward them, right? Sometimes the Hall of Fame helps in across the FOMO that many people are participating and taking more interest. I am lagging behind on it, and I also should take lead. Also helps. So it's a multi-pronged strategy of managing a change, particularly when you're bringing a technological or AI change in an organization.
So all about how can HR leadership shifts from a transactional focus to fostering a culture of learning and growth, especially when it's not a part of the organization's DNA.
That's a great one, I would say, right? What happens is, in most of the organizations, and coming from an HR person, let's take it with a grain of salt, that everybody wants learning and development, but nobody has time for it, right? It's always a sort of an HR activity that has to be done, which is a cost initiative, and it always takes a backseat, including the employee who wants a learning for him or herself. But every time you initiate a learning initiative, they would say, Anurag, I have a very important deliverable today. I cannot join this training program or a learning program. Can I skip the session? Now, and that's the trap, I would say, which HR gets into. I've always flipped it and reversed it. I've made it a business initiative that where are your current skills? Where are your current capabilities of your talent? And with this talent map, these capabilities, you are achieving X. But if you want a delta of X, right, in whatever ratio, what is the incremental through this talent that can come in, right? And if that incremental is coming through, learning some new skills or reskilling people or cross-skilling people, right? Then you need to lead that. We will build that program for you. And then we will sort of measure that whether it has brought in any productive output change or not. Take it with a few focus groups and then sort of do it. When you start doing that, then you see the more adaptation coming in and acceptability on, the learning initiatives. For example, in Unifor, right, when we were growing very fast and rapid, and the teams were scattered all across the globe, and the organization was around, the field of conversational AI. The technology changing very fast, the needs were different, and we said that the only cutting edge is people constantly learning, right? And then we shifted the onus of learning to the individual levels, gave them the tools, the LinkedIn learning licenses, and then sort of maps and how their career trajectory will sort of grow, and the business implications around it. And I was myself surprised how people adapted to it and sort of took a lead. That at the end of a 14 months period, the LinkedIn came across and honored us with LinkedIn Learning Champion organization in terms of fast adapting the tools for individual and business growth both. So yeah, the short answer is link it with individual, link it with business, make them the owners, and then sort of put in the right processes.
Anurag, I mean, we can see that we have been hearing a lot of buzz about the Gen Z people in the workplace right now. So, I mean, if you talk about like you have seen organization skills across a different scale. So, if you talk about with Gen Z entering in the workforce in large numbers, how do you see their expectation reshaping workplace culture compared to earlier generations?
Yeah, each generation, I would say, and we all know that has a pivotal point, right, from the previous generation. And that's how it is structured, that each generation is more evolved and more, I would say, different in its approach towards work and then personal sort of orientation. If you just look at the previous sort of generations, and I hate to generalize, but if I have to generalize them, right, they were focused on getting education in one particular stream, either guided by their parents, their peers, or something which they thought would get them deeper into making their careers. Once they joined the organizations, the first thing that they thought is that you need to adapt to the organization, right? You need to sort of follow the mandates, and then there is a vertical path towards your growth, right? You do X, you do X plus X, build up some competencies, and you grow up, right? And there was a lot of, I would say, resilience, um, and patience, and then sort of time given across for things to make happen, right? I would say the current generation which is coming in is very sharp. They are exposed to technology and the information at a very, very early stage, right? They're more evolved in terms of what world is changing to, not now, but in near future, right? And for them, there is no one path that will take to for them to take to success, right? They're no longer looking at a vertical sort of working environment. They're more, I would say, focused on what they want to become and how they can contribute that to the organization's growth. And whenever there is a sweet spot wherein what they want and where the organization is looking for, they sort of hold that place. If that is not happening, they're not bothered. They're willing to experiment. They're willing to sort of change and sort of make those choices. Whether you like it or not, those are managed by mostly people who are of the prior generations, right? Who have not seen the shift. And that's where the challenge comes, right? But what I have observed is that, this generation, let me use, um, uh, a slang, and I'm sorry for that, is more of saying that cut the bullshit, right? Come straight to the point. What do you want? Don't direct me, right? I know how to do it, and let me do it. If I can do it in a way which is faster and efficient, I don't need your directions, right? Don't teach me step one, two, three. If I need help, I'll come to you. Give me the tools. But if 5 p.m. is my gym time, I would rather go 5 p.m. to my gym, right? I will finish my work before that. And mind you, most of them are very disciplined in finishing their work on time,
Very much agree.
right? Yeah, they will do that. But if you say that, this meeting is sort of scheduled at 5, they will say, why at 5, right? You can do it at 4:30. But if you're so pressed upon at 5, you do it without me. I'm not joining, right? Because it's too, and many times they would say it's too short a notice because they're programmed that way. That if some urgency is there, I can understand. But every day cannot be an urgency that you come at last moment and say, hey, can we have a quick huddle? There's nothing like quick huddle, right? You need to be structured because they are structured. They are structured in the way they are thinking. They're structured in the way they are growing. And more importantly, they know their career trajectory because if this fails, they have option B or option C to latch upon. So it's important for organizations to sort of understand them better, connect with them better, and then sort of, make them adaptable where they need to adapt, right? And then they will listen to it. But it's a longer process because just by telling them that this is the company policy, this is the company rules, they will challenge. But if you say that this is why it is made like this, and you need to sort of also understand the larger perspective of it, chances are they will adapt. So yeah, it's a new generation. It's a difficult generation for the people who are of the other generation to manage them.
In organization, I believe managers who take ownership of encouraging their teams to upskill. However, many managers tend to expect HR to drive this, even though it's actually within their own control. How should such scenario be addressed for anything and everything if it's HR?
I would say 80% of the time managers don't own their people, right? It is left to all good conversations a manager will like to do. All difficult conversations they will leave to the HR. I say good conversations. If an employee has got a good performance rating, manager will take no time and say that, hey, you did excellent and you have got a 20% increase. But if the employee had an expectation of a great performance appraisal, but it was just meeting expectation, then they would say, you know what, we had some budget constraint and HR had some, guidelines. And unfortunately, I could not do much. Now, that is and whenever it is a performance improvement plan, they would like the HR to lead those conversations and avoid the tough conversations. Now, how this changes, when you want to shift the onus towards the manager, I would say a lot of that is also related with conventional HR, wherein the HR thinks that they have the power, right, of hiring people, sort of when it comes to firing, and most importantly, the increments in budgets. What I've always seen and I've always believed and done is that you get out of it right from day to start. You question a lot before that in terms of how many people you need, why from this particular background, right? And then sort of discuss, design the budgets, and even from hiring, give them the onus that you are hiring the individual. 80% or 90% of the time, the person is your responsibility. And if their performance is dipping, they're not performing to the level which they are, you need to come to us. We will guide you how to do that. But at the end of the year, we will publish your scorecard as well as a manager, right? That how many of your team members did great, not at the end of the year, right? In between as well, we'll share that with you, and then in their performance appraisals as well, that scorecard becomes important, right? And then the feeling of ownership will start coming in, and you'll say, okay, if you want to give everyone a great hike, this is the budget in front of you, right? You have 5 people, give the entire money to 5. Will you like to give and distribute that? Up to you, and I will not question. Or give 100% to one employee and zero to others. Trust me, no manager will sort of take those actions. And I've seen even senior leaders coming in, okay, hey Anurag, it's difficult, I'm not able to sort of distribute it, right? I want to make everyone happy. And I said that you can't make everyone happy, right? You need to find out your A players, and then you need to own up, because now I've given you everything. I've given you the money, I've given you the tools. Now you can't say that HR will communicate the bad news or the tough news. You need to do that. But in this journey, you have to first build the trust with the manager. It won't come in that you are saying and they're believing in. And trust comes in where you help them succeed with the HR practices, policies, and most importantly, coaching them. So coaching people managers by HR becomes very important in terms of making them successful. That done right, the shift starts towards the managers.
It's from one of the HR leader from Facctum IT Solutions India. So yeah, it's so it's visible to you. Anurag, can you please take care?
Yeah, it is visible to me. From push-ups to purpose, we've got it all. Living our culture beyond work. From sweating it out in a high energy fitness challenge, our gym enthusiasts, to spreading joy through CSR. This year was all about purpose and passion. We shared heartfelt moments with the elderly listening. At work and beyond, we thrive on fitness, fun, giving back, and soaking in every lesson. Great. Kudos to Fractional IT Solutions India. I would say you have you have gathered, measured the pulse of it. That living beyond the work is where culture becomes ingrained into daily life, right? Giving back to the community, sharing with the community is the strongest sort of initiative or bond that you can do. So great. Kudos.
Exactly. I mean, again, once again, congratulations to this HR leader from the Factum IT Solutions. One of the really great insights which we picked up and thought to share this with the audience as well. So yeah, communication is key in every organization. So as an HR leader, how can we embed effective communication into our culture in a way that makes learning it fun, engaging, and a part of every employee's journey?
I would say in any organization, clear, open, and direct communication is the key to success. What happens is, as organizations start building up, growing up, there are boundaries, there are barriers, there are walls which come to the communication, and it gets broken. It takes efforts every time to make the communication as direct as possible, as frequent as possible, and as open as possible. Now, the role of HR here is sort of two ways. One is is a is a sort of a guiding, a coaching, uh, uh, you know, role, wherein you talk to the leaders and say that, hey, what is the most important, uh, activity of you as a leader? And on top of the mind, they will talk at least 3 items which are business, right? And then you have to challenge it. Okay, how would you achieve these business goals? They will talk either about marketing efforts, the product, right? And then you say, okay, who will do that? Sometimes they would say this technology, this sort of initiative would do that. And then you say that, but again, who will do that ultimately? And then so yeah, the team will do it. So yeah, now you're getting it across. Then how often you are talking to your team, right? How often you are communicating this vision of yours to the team? And if you're not, then you're missing out, the bigger achievements that you want to do. The talks of the leader should not be limited to the town halls. Sometimes the frequency of the town halls also becomes quarterly or half yearly, forget monthly. So leaders need to take time out to talk. And once they do that, then it's a cascading effect, because if they are doing it, they will make it a point that their second line does it and their third line does it, and it trickles down to the bottom level person. Now, important is that once you have brought in this rhythm, you have to also help them design the communication, because communication needs to be open, a two-way communication, not with complex jargons, but a very direct, meaningful conversation sometimes, not lengthy messages, not long conversations, but just sometimes telling that, hey guys, I don't know, right? How to solve this. And I would say that's the most powerful communication a leader can make to a team or a manager. that then the team gets related, that this person is honest, this person is truthful, that, not every time he will have answers, and can we all figure it out, because this is important for business to do that. And then it's important that they take feedback, whether the people understand the way they want it to understand. And that's where, HR can build up those processes and loops. And it's a continual journey. I would say it's the most continuous activity in any organization is communication. And like they say, entertainment, entertainment, entertainment. In organization, it's communication, communication, and communication. At times of crisis, communicate more. Communicate more than normal that you're doing in across. Over communication is never bad.
Exactly. Transparency within the team is very one of
Yeah.
the great. Well-being today in the organization is more than yoga session or pizza Fridays. So, from your experience, what truly works to create a sustainable culture of well-being, especially in fast-scaling organizations?
That's a great one. Look, everybody likes uh, you know the fun Fridays, the pizza Fridays, or the beer Fridays, whatever you want to call it, right? But if you see, even that, if it is done consistently, it has a fading effect, and I've seen that. I've seen that it spikes, and then that beer is also not relevant after a particular point of time, because they will say, oh, it's just going into that, and again there will be some conversation. Why pizza aa jayega, why beer hogi, right? Some fun activity will happen. Guys have something else to do. Now, while those are important, and those should keep on doing, what organizations should now focus, and most of the progressive organizations are doing it, is making it continual, right? Well-being as a continual, as a part of the rituals which happen in any conversation. And what I coach the people managers and leaders is that, I tell them that you need to do regular one-on-ones, weekly one-on-ones, and have a monthly one-on-one. Your monthly one-on-ones should be on the goals, KRAs, KPI, and business targets, and where they are doing, because every day you are talking business and outcomes. But your weekly one-on-ones should talk nothing about business. Just have open conversations, how you're feeling, right? How can I help you out? How can I make you more efficient? Now, once that is done consistently, that breaks the ice. And I have seen, managers and leaders coming to me and saying that, hey, all this while, I was knowing this person as a different individual. I didn't know that this is his or her personal anxiety problem that they're coping up with. And this is the reason sometimes, they shy away from that. And how can I help them? And then that's where, the overall well-being comes into the play. And then, have tools, have measures wherein, in an anonymous mode, employees can feel free to have the conversation, something like what you guys are building in, where you can go and talk, not being judged by anyone, but an open conversation wherein you get a score, right? How am I feeling, right? Is it normal? Is sometimes the anxiety is normal, right? It should happen, right? Because the anxiety brings in best out of you. But if that anxiety is killing you every time, that's not normal, right? So the dividing line between what is normal, what is not normal, and most importantly, what can I do and what can company do to make that happen in a sustainable way, is where all these well-being initiatives should be focused upon. Alongside that, yes, the fun element should be there. Why not?
Culture wins, but sometimes it's that the failures that escape. So, I mean, from your experience, could you share one culture initiative you have seen and what leaders should learn from it? I mean, is it okay to acknowledge within the organization with the management team? So, how exactly can we, think if some of the culture got dropped within the organization? So, I mean, anything from your learning or experiences?
Well, yes, like how business plans fail, right? How products fail. You put in a lot of effort, you make a great product, it doesn't click. But then, the leaders are not, shying away. They talk openly about it. That guys, we built a great product. We thought it will click, right? It was a great marketing campaign. We thought it will bring in great results, but it failed. And this is the learning that we would get across. Similar is culture. But what happens? It's something internal to you, and in an organization, so you don't want to talk about it openly. That how can I say that culture failed for the organization, right? And how do we sort of fix it? But as I was talking in the other example, that uh, organizations growing fast, rapid, at times, what you thought are your core ethos and values, right, which should never be compromised. But in the scale-up journey, if deliberate efforts are not made in, you creep into creating islands of culture with it, right? But if the feedback comes to you, the the honest leadership, I would say, is that goes in front of people and acknowledges that, guys, we made a mistake, right? And we are resetting the culture. We are resetting the behaviors. And most importantly, we are taking some hard actions on people who sort of brought it down. And when you do that, right, it sends a strong message to the people that, hey, like how a business failed, culture also fails at times. But the leaders are sort of owning their mistake, where it happened. And most importantly, how at times you take hard measures on certain people who don't meet the targets. You're taking those hard measures on the leaders who didn't make that extra effort to make that culture win. And then again, reset it. Again, build bottoms up as you build up a new product or a new marketing campaign, and then come out as a winner. So yeah, I've seen that. It happens in most organizations. And important is that as an HR, we go ahead and tell the leaders that own it up, right? Like how you own up a business failure, own this up, take some hard measures, but most importantly, course correct.
Uh, it really has one of the great insights, whatever we heard from you. I mean, we would really love to learn more from your experiences onwards. And I think we have really a great audiences here. We have really a great insights. So,
The closing, I would like to thank every participant. I know it's a Thursday afternoon, right? And
exactly.
you people taking a time out to attend this session, being patient, observer, listener, and most importantly, contributing with your questions. Really great. Much appreciated. Thank you so much. And as Salar Himanshu for this opportunity, it's not about me sharing something. It's just my life experience. But I also gained a lot through this. The sort of initiative that organization has taken, that was a really great one. And such conversations, open conversations, are great. We all get more smarter by interacting with each other in these formats. So kudos to you and your team, and all the best for the journey of Ekaant forward.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. Would love to again join you again sometime. So yeah, once again, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Anurag.
Thanks,
See you
everyone.
again. Thank you. Thank you,
Thank you.
everyone. Bye.